Stormy Daniels' lawyer, the esteemed Michael Avenatti, was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence. The whole story is pretty murky, but it seems he's accused of similar stuff he's partial to smearing others with. Now, I'm not going to lie, I felt like there was some justice exacted in the universe, and I may be small for feeling that way. But nobody's as small, petty, and irresponsible with the lives of others as this guy. He tried to ruin Brett Kavanaugh's life with unbelievable allegations that have been referred for criminal investigation. That wrongdoing requires serious poetic justice. And even if it turns out he's innocent, and he might very well be, he's tasting the kind of pain he's put on others. And it's good to see one leader of a mob get hoisted on his own pitchfork. But even if this feels good, one must resist that feeling because someone else may have gotten hurt, the alleged victim. So we must be better than him, better than Avenatti. Okay, that's a low bar. We must be magnificent compared to him. So he deserves due process and the presumption of innocence, even if he kept it from Kavanaugh. And he must get all that good stuff our system has to offer, even if he would happily deny it to you or to me. And maybe if justice is served, he might learn something about his own behavior, his own sins, and his own deceit. But he's Michael Avenatti, so don't hold your breath. All right, so one, he claims, he believes that he was set up, that he was framed, and he might have been framed, who knows? But would it be more likely Democrats than Republicans to frame him?
Democrats to frame him?
Yes, you know, they got a crowded field, and he doesn't do the Democrats any favors.
You mean you really think he's running for president?
Well, maybe, I don't know.
He says he is.
He says he is.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, you know, of course, I thought Trump was, but I think Avenatti is really ridiculous. That's really ridiculous. But I must say, there seems to be a lot of schadenfreude around today with regard to Michael Avenatti. A lot of people saying, oh, especially on the right. I think Town Hall had a headline that said something like "sweet irony." Right. So, but I think we should all be very careful. We don't know the facts of this case, and I was surprised that the first wife and the second wife, I think, said she wasn't there, and the initial report was that she was there and that she was the victim. So that doesn't make sense to me. But I just think we're all locked into this tribal political kind of framework at the moment, and Avenatti has made himself the titular head of the attack on Donald Trump. So if you're a Trump supporter, why not take delight in his troubles?
Titular. That is the best word to describe him. Dana, as much as I despise the guy, you have to presume he's innocent even if he would screw you over in a heartbeat.
No, you have to, because that's the principle that we were arguing about all during the Kavanaugh hearings. I saw today that a couple of New York Times reporters are going to be writing a book. It's going to be coming out next year, and it's going to answer all the questions, still unanswered questions from the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And I thought, really, all the questions?
Yes.
Like all the ones, including, for example, the people who've been referred to the Department of Justice by the Grassley Committee, the Judiciary Committee, for making false statements to investigators, like those unanswered questions?
Yeah.
Those would be interesting.
They would. And actually, it would be a great book if they went after the...
If that's the book they're going to write.
If that book
Somehow,
the book just focused on 2 weeks, it would be a great book. Jesse, you love to read.
I do.
But that's for another time. It is, I know it's small, and I am small, but I feel some justice to see how Avenatti responds now that he's on the other side of this.
Right.
That's kind of like, I mean, that's a human thing, and I realize that I should tamp that down.
Isn't it funny how life can kind of just hold the mirror up sometimes and show you lessons learned, possibly? I mean, it was just a couple months ago that this exact same thing was happening to Brett Kavanaugh, allegedly, and he wasn't giving him the benefit of the doubt. So I think it's nice to now everybody, you know, if it happens to this person, then it happens to this person. The entire media can take a step back and say, innocent until proven guilty, except Hillary, because we know she's guilty. When you look at this guy, it looks like his life is flaming out. It looks like his 15 minutes are up. I don't know if he did it. He may have been set up, but let's just say something happened that was bad. He kind of rode Stormy Daniels' lawsuit to fame, and then he parlayed it into a presidential run. And then he's now being investigated for lying to the Senate. A judge just ruled he owes millions to his former business partners. And he's been accused of a felony domestic assault beef. And you're looking at this guy and you're thinking, okay, how bad can it get? And then you say to yourself, it's going to get a lot worse because, one, he's never going to get booked on any cable news shows anymore. Everybody that loved him, CNN, barely covered the story. His appearances in Vermont at some Democratic event were canceled. This guy's a pariah, and he's in the middle of a really dirty divorce right now, and he can't afford the luxury lifestyle that he's provided for himself and for his ex-wife. And I think what's going to happen is he was going to take the money that he raised for the presidential campaign, and I think he was going to pay down debts with that because he owes his business partners, he owes the state of California, and he owes the IRS millions of dollars. That's over with now. That whole shell game that he was trying to arrange is done. I think he's going to probably declare bankruptcy, or he may spend time in prison.
You're like the opposite of a therapist. You just basically...
Tough love.
Yeah, that was just like, I think you actually just basically took apart every facet of his career. And
I've been following him closely.
Yes.
I mean, how can you not? He's on TV all the time.
He is.
Jedediah, even Alyssa Milano, who was, front and center almost in the Kavanaugh hearings, or in the back to their shoulder, has disavowed him.
Yeah, she's consistent at least. Presumption of innocence doesn't matter to her no matter what, no matter who it is. I think it's interesting. You asked before how he might respond, and I saw that he tweeted out. One of the things he said when he tweeted was, "Why is TMZ's news standard the new standard?" That's really interesting because that's what many of us have been saying for a really long time. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to become the guy that questions these news outlets and says, "Wait a second, this is an accusation against me. This is an allegation of me. There's no proof." He's making the exact same arguments that everyone that was watching Kavanaugh unfold and saying, hold on a second, let's just investigate this and figure out what happened, but let's not criminalize this guy in second one. Now he's making those arguments. This should be like a moment for him, a turning point moment for him, where he sits back, if he's, a decent human being, and I don't know him personally, but if he is, where he sits back and he can say, wow, this is why this matters, because at any point you could be in this situation. I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. I don't know what happened, but any one of us could be in a situation where the public doesn't know the story, but you deserve the right to be innocent until proven guilty because no one else knows the story except you, and you have to go through process. No one gave Kavanaugh the right to process, and now he's seeing that a lot of people don't want to give him that same right, and many of us are sitting here. I don't agree with him on anything, but I am here to defend his right to process the same way I was defending Kavanaugh's right to process.
Well,
so consistency would be great from everyone.
Let me ask you a question, Jedediah. You really think, and Jesse said this too, it's analogous? I think you were being unfair to Kavanaugh. I mean, Kavanaugh was really, the hard charge against him came from Professor Ford, who said something happened when he was a teenager, and then they had to get her to testify, and they're trying to find if they could confirm. In the case of what we're seeing with Avenatti, you've got the women right there, the investigation ongoing. I don't think it's analogous, and I certainly don't think it's analogous to Stormy Daniels saying something happened with Donald Trump and then discovering that there was a payoff.
It's not the
but
same.
Now everything is the same, and it's all about due process.
It's not the
Come
same,
on,
but
guys.
he still has a right to go have this be investigated, make his case heard.
That was what the Democrats were saying about Kavanaugh.
Wait. Well, Juan, there's two different situations. Kavanaugh was 30 years ago with no witnesses, no nothing.
That's what I said.
This was an actual arrest.
That's what I just said.
Kavanaugh was never arrested.
That's why it's not analogous.
Well, it's even less analogous, and the burden of proof is more on Avenatti.
But what is analogous is that the public should be willing to say innocent until proven guilty holds, that it's still America regardless of what the situation. It's not the same exact situation. You're right. There is an arrest here, and you're right. It is arguably a much worse situation for him. But you still people still have a right to defend themselves, and we shouldn't be criminalizing people on second one.
As I get more famous and powerful, I've noticed something. I'm probably going to get set up at some point. I have some great advice for people, and I read this on Twitter today.
What?
If you're ever traveling alone for like a period of time and like really no one really knows where you are, it's good to make purchases with a credit card or a debit card. That way there's an electronic footprint that verifies your whereabouts at a certain point of time, so you have an alibi. So no one can say, you did this to me at this time,
wait a
and
second.
you can look at the receipt and say, no, I was buying Tic Tacs at a 7-Eleven.
What happened when you gave me your Starbucks card and I used it the other day?
Yes. Well, there goes my alibi.
You were setting me up.
I think there's a way. If everybody would do that, every criminal would do that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it helps.
You just walk around using your ATM card.
Yeah. That is very funny. I'm glad you thought about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's getting more famous by the minute.
Oh, boy.
All right, so if you're planning on setting up Jesse, don't even bother because he's got it figured out. Foolproof. Some Democrats revolting against Nancy Pelosi. Revolting. Her bid to become House Speaker again in trouble. That's next.
Saying no thanks to Nancy Pelosi as the next House Speaker.
The American people sent a very clear message a week ago with the election that it's time for a new approach to politics and new leaders.
I believe we need change, and so I'm supporting change.
We're going to bring change. The people want change, and this is the establishment versus change.
Fox News confirming at least 17 current and incoming lawmakers have signed a letter pledging not to support Pelosi's bid to become Speaker again. Despite the opposition from her own party, Pelosi says she's confident she'll regain the gavel.
The election were held today on the House floor. Do you have the votes to be elected Speaker?
Yes.
What do you make of Marcia Fudge trying to challenge you or considering challenge?
Say to everybody, come on in, the water's warm.
Saying it to everybody, you don't have to be a member of Congress to be Speaker of the House.
Really?
I'm just looking at you.
Can I do it?
Yeah, that's right. Can you get 218 votes?
I think so. I'm a pretty popular guy, and I'm getting more and more famous. I think this is ageist. They want her to go because she's getting up there in age, and I think it's I was going to say sexist, but it's more ageist. The best bet for the Republicans, though, is that the fresh faces will make Chancey, i.e. Nancy and Chuck, Chancey. By explaining it, I don't actually save any time. But they make him look. They're going to make Chancey look conservative. The Democratic Party will end up looking like the Venezuelan ruling class because they want socialized health care. They want free tuition, redistribution. So maybe it's a good thing for Republicans. But I would like to see the Democratic Party become a better party. I think they should stress unity, patriotism, let go of the irrational anger, embrace new ideas. Let go of the old ones. I think it might be good for them.
For a lot of these members, Jesse, like the ones we just mentioned, they campaigned saying, I will not vote for Nancy Pelosi. They did commercials about it, and now it's likely that their first vote is going to be for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker.
And she's going to be watching carefully who votes against her, and then she'll exact retribution. I hope Marcia Fudge wins because I just want to see Trump have a field day with that nickname. But it's closer than people realize. If these 17 Democrats who've signed this letter stick and they add a few more, the first vote is just a simple majority of Democrats. She'll get that. But when they go to the full vote on the full House, they may actually need Republican votes for the Pelosi speakership. The Republicans aren't going to give it to him, so it could be closer than people think.
I think your boss just said he would help her get Republican votes.
Okay, listen, if Trump whips the Republican caucus to vote for Nancy, that'll be something I'll never see. But I think Greg's right. It really is about age and change, because right now, she does not let young people in the Democratic caucus advance in their careers. They have these 70-year-old people that are chairs of these committees, and they've got cobwebs all over them. They're in their walkers coming. No, they're very old. And if you're a young Democrat and you want to get some fresh blood in there,
I think that,
and rise up, you're not going to do it under the tutelage.
They do get fresh blood, but for the transfusions.
Yeah, and 70 is the new 41.
Is that right? I hope so.
But did you know that
I apologize.
Did you know that this new the new Congress, when it starts, will be on average 10 years younger than the previous one? Yeah. That's how much the new generation. There is something about doing that, and she says that this will be the last time. She's going to Merkel herself.
Yeah, be very careful. Merkel yourself.
Merkel herself. That sounds rough.
It does. But I think when I'm hearing this conversation, I think, boy, this must be like GOP porn or something. Everybody's getting off on this.
I would not know.
I don't think.
I don't. What's on your computer?
But I don't think there's any reality to the fantasy, because guess what? I don't think there's one person I've spoken to today who thinks that she won't win when the Democratic caucus gets together and has their vote right after Thanksgiving.
Still a tough vote, Jedediah.
Wait, let me finish this thought. And then Jesse picked up on something that is key. That I think if 14 of the 17, she needs at least 14 of the 17 Democrats to vote with her when it comes to the full floor of the House, outside of the Democratic caucus. Let's say she gets past the Democratic caucus, gets to the floor. If 14 of the 17 don't vote for her, then it would open the door to Republicans saying, we don't want her leadership. The problem is, once it gets to the floor, people like Barack Obama, the unions, the churches are all going to say, Democrats, how dare you challenge and get involved in a useless fight against the most effective speaker in American history who raises more money and puts more votes. A lot
of pressure.
And has, you know, if you think about what she's passed, everything from health care to cap and trade to stimulus, you could go on. She makes Paul Ryan look like he didn't know what he was doing.
I'm an admirer. I do admire her, but there's a lot of new energy with the younger Democrats. But I mean, you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez protesting in Nancy Pelosi's office the other day. That was quite gutsy.
The thing is, Pelosi's also a walking ad for Republicans to be able to say run against this all the time. I'm all for new blood. I say that all the time on the right, too, that people, I'm a term limits girl. I'm always like, let's get new people in there, fresh ideas, especially for the Democratic Party, that I think really is struggling to find a message. She is more of the same. And if they're going to put forward a message and they're going to talk to people and say, you know, we're bringing about positive new different ideas or whatever, I think the person that's ushering that in needs to be not necessarily younger. It's not necessarily about age, but just not someone who's been so entrenched in the system for so long. I just wonder also, though, why they don't talk about Schumer in the same way. I mean, why doesn't he get the same amount of coverage?
Schumer's been getting his butt kicked in the Senate for a long time. Remember the Schumer shutdown? Remember he blew the DACA deal? I mean, he's been getting railroaded over
arguably much
Kavanaugh,
more so
he screwed up Kavanaugh, too.
Yeah, and I think in terms of headlines, I feel like he's done more damage to the Democratic Party than she has.
No, I mean, if you look at the way to do that argument, I think, is to say clearly the Democrats did not win the Senate. Guess what? They won the House. So how come they aren't going after Schumer? But of course, the playing field was so tilted towards the Republicans in the Senate. I don't think people hold him accountable in that way. One last point on this: do you notice that nobody's running against Nancy Pelosi?
Really?
Nobody.
Well, Marcia Fudge might.
No, might.
She's fudging.
Nobody has said, I am running. Nobody.
Jesse said they're afraid of retribution.
We got to go. A federal judge calling Florida the laughing stock of the world as a key county misses today's recount deadline. We have the very latest up next.
The recount with a deadline of noon on Sunday. The manual recount to focus on over and under votes. Undervotes were a big problem in Broward County. All of this as a federal judge caused the state the laughingstock of the world amid the latest election chaos. Palm Beach County, the only one in the state, missed today's 3 p.m. machine recount deadline. And after all sorts of problems, Broward County did manage to hit today's deadline with 12 minutes to spare. Okay, Dana.
A dozen minutes.
All right, so they're doing a hand recount in the entire state of Florida on, I guess, undercounts and overcounts. What is all that?
So an undercount is where, let's just say you have a ballot where you just went in and you only voted for the Senate and you left the rest of the stuff blank. That's considered an undervote. An overvote would be where if maybe your pen or pencil accidentally ticked 2 boxes. Like you were like, Nelson, whichever it was.
Oh my God.
Then that's where that
in
comes.
Florida.
Dana, I thought an undercount was when there's a fight between 2 vampires.
It's an undercard.
Oh, no, undercount.
Undercount.
Oh, gotcha.
No, an undercount is what happens when you go and get measured for height at the doctor's office.
Thank you. That was because I interrupted you.
You weren't
I deserve
even prepared.
it.
I was just trying to. It's a little boring.
A lot boring.
Can we show swipes on the screen? There we go. Let's show sneaky
Senator
snacks.
Nelson and Governor Scott, and you are sitting there, and you have 0.2% between you. Now, 0.2% is like 13,000 votes, so it's very unlikely that this gets overturned.
And Juan, you said the other day, right, to Dana's point, that usually a recount or a hand recount in this case won't swing anything if it's anywhere over 1,000, and this is what, 15, 13,000?
Almost 13. So the thing is, Jesse, that the real damage here is I don't understand, given that it's likely that Governor Scott becomes Senator Scott, and there's not really a recount in the governor's race. Why are Republicans going after and suggesting that there's fraud or somehow that there's criminality?
Well, because
even the Republican
criminality.
There has not been.
Yes,
even the Republican Secretary of State has said
Florida
nothing
Department
criminal.
of Law Enforcement is investigating.
They might investigate
tampering with ballots on a statewide basis.
This is
by the Democrats.
That's like somebody saying, "Oh, gee, I think I didn't see Jesse swipe his credit card that day, and I didn't see it."
How dare you?
How dare you?
Well played.
But I think that what
Jesse
you got
Broward County.
He was in Broward County?
Yeah, double voting.
Oh, my God. You know, you're a trickster.
Guilty as charged.
But I'm just saying, a Republican Secretary of State says nothing criminal is going on here. But you get President Trump involved. What is he doing? Why? Why would you do this?
I'd love to make this political, but all I can see is behind you the image of these voting machines. Does anyone else feel like the only time... I feel like I've gotten into a DeLorean and gone back in time when I go to vote. With all the technology advancements that have happened, when you go vote, don't you feel like it's a little antiquated?
It
like
would be
the
great if
machines
we
are
could-
broken, busted. There's got to be a better way. This is the most important thing in the entire country.
But if it's computerized, the Russians are just going to hack it, right, Jedediah?
Well, that could happen.
But you know what? It's an interesting counter-argument that people on the Democratic side say, if you really care about this, why not put money into modernizing and improving the machine?
Well, let's listen to some Democrats. Some Democrats have talked about the, I guess, what Republicans are worrying about. Let's hear what they had to say.
We'll never give in on voting rights. We have seen if Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly. It's clear.
If she'd had a fair election, she already would have won.
All right, so Greg, I mean, in 2000, the Democrats did this. In 2016, they did it, and now in 2018, they're undermining the elections after the fact.
They're crybabies. What I truly hate about the Democrats, it's not the adoption of destructive ideas from prior centuries. It's not the toxic mix of identity politics that pits one group against the other. It's not their constant demonization of people who disagree with them. It's because they're forcing us to do this story. Because they won't give up. They're like kids in the backseat of the car screaming for ice cream, and they're just waiting for the adults, i.e. Republicans, to give in and stop at 31 flavors.
Also, like in Georgia, you had Democrats today saying to Stacey Abrams, like, you are 17,000 votes behind. We should let this one go. You came close.
Right.
So let's take the lesson. Why did we come so close in Georgia? What's happening here? What did we learn from this lesson that we could go? What was it that turned enough people off to vote for the Republicans and not vote for the Democrat? You could do the same exercise in Florida. Try to win. Next time, there will be another good election.
This is the new Hillary Clinton mantra. When you lose a close election, you complain and you blame everybody else.
What about the 4 counties referred to federal investigation over altering election forms by the Democratic Party?
Yeah.
We haven't. The media has ignored this. Jesse.
They have. You know, just very quickly, let me say,
straight up ignored it.
Let me say,
Juan.
I think Mia Love in Utah is trying to stop talk about Republicans.
Yeah, because she's going to win that.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, boy, you see such a thing in Georgia. Georgia is not like Florida. In Georgia, you have Brian Kemp, who's now says that he's the governor-elect, who was in charge of the election, and who had, guess what, said that certain ballots were not to be allowed because signatures didn't match, and most of them came from minority communities likely to vote for Abrams. Voter suppression, closing polling places.
It can't be that every single election that comes up, though, the Democrats' line is they stole it, they cheated. It would be one thing if it was one election.
I think that's the Republican line in Florida.
Oh, come on, this is every time, including Trump.
No, the Republican line, fraud.
But one last thing, if I could say, I just watch in the next year, there is going to be a call on behalf. Democrats are going to call up a vote on the Voting Rights Act, on voter suppression, and this got real ugly. Was it 05, Juan, when we did this before?
Yes. That's when, I think it was 05 or 06, when the court said the Voting Rights Act was overly punishing of states because of the old
Right, and then it's a big debate, and it will have there's a lot of consequences.
Well, I mean, you can't always blame the government. In this case, you have to blame dumb people that vote for both candidates. Who does that? Up next, could Amazon's Alexa be the key witness in a double murder case? Stick around.
A story that's reigniting the debate over technology and privacy. Investigators think Alexa may hold the key to solving a double murder case in New Hampshire where the suspect is pleading not guilty. Prosecutors want to know if the attack was recorded on the victim's Amazon Echo device. It was on the kitchen counter at the time of the crime. And a judge is now ordering Amazon to turn over the recording. So, you know, I think, Jesse, Alexa's always on.
Yeah, I mean, I just pull a Hillary and just dissolve that thing in acid. That's what she did with her emails, right? That's what she did. It was under subpoena. She took those emails and she acid washed them. I don't see why this person can't do it and get away with it.
It's on the cloud. It's on the cloud.
I don't bother with the details of these types of questions.
Theoretically, this is what you could do. Lock her up. But, you know, I wanted to go to you, Greg, on this, because remember that San Bernardino case when Apple refused to unlock the iPhone?
Yep.
And I think you were mad at Apple.
I was mad at Apple because, you know, I'm an expert in crime. I watched back-to-back episodes of Forensic Files over the weekend.
Greg just told us how to contaminate a crime scene if you ever commit a homicide.
Yes, and it's actually, it's a
brilliant idea.
It's a brilliant idea. But, okay, so here's the thing. It's not about privacy. It's about evidence. Go back to the 1990s and imagine a person leaving an answering machine message like, hey, Jesse, I'm about to pick up. Cavuto, why did you shoot me? Why did you shoot me, Cavuto? And then he hangs up. Okay, so that tape is a voluntarily, it's voluntarily, right? It's not surreptitious. It's not a surreptitious listening device. So that could be evidence. It's the same thing with Alexa. It's not surreptitiously listening to you. It's like a 24-hour voicemail or message machine. There's nothing confidential being shared, so it is evidence.
So you can't call Alexa to the stand and have Alexa plead the fifth?
No,
she won't do that?
It has no hands.
But you know what I learned while we're doing the research on this story? I thought you had to say Alexa or Echo or Amazon Computer or something.
No.
But apparently it's listening all the time. I'm shocked.
It's listening. Well, in order to get it, you have to command it.
What?
You can command it. You can say, Alexa, play. I know this because my mother has an Alexa, much to my dismay. I walk into the house and I unplug it immediately.
You do?
Yes, because I wrote a book about this stuff. It freaks me out, and it stores it. And my concern is always, A, why are people okay with this kind of massive surveillance? People get very wary of government surveillance, but it doesn't occur to them that something could be sitting on a table recording everything they say.
And some nerd
and it goes,
at Amazon could be
and then
listening
what
to what
happens,
you're talking about.
and what happens if it gets hacked? If that gets hacked, then now all of you say, oh, you're not talking about confidential stuff. I'm sure you wouldn't want all of your conversations that happen in your house to be played right now.
I basically talk to myself, Jeff.
And now,
it's so boring.
Scary.
Now for a different attitude and approach.
Well, I do two things. I don't like it that, remember, it was not too long ago that Alexa took a conversation that a family was having and then accidentally uploaded it and sent it to all of their contacts.
Yeah.
That happened, so no, I'm not good with that. But in terms of Alexa listening to me and I'm saying, God, I really want that new backpack purse from that one designer, and then all of a sudden, in Peter's Instagram, there's advertisements for that exact backpack. I'm like, thank you, Alexa. That's exactly what I needed to happen. I don't mind that. Like, I feel like it's making life easier for me.
Are you trying to tell Peter you want a backpack on the 5?
Yeah, well, actually, I do, and I saw it when I was on the trip.
Peter, you watch.
But I just think it would be better for my back.
But the thing is, should the police have access to Alexa?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You guys don't care about privacy.
I
don't think this.
They have to get a warrant.
It's a homicide, Juan. It's not trespassing.
It's not a privacy issue. Not a privacy issue.
Explain why it's not a privacy
It's a homicide.
Because the thing is, it's like all of a sudden saying like you left a footprint on a tile and the tile company says, I'm sorry, those are our tiles. You can't lift that. You know, that's what you're leaving. You're leaving something voluntarily in an object.
But people don't know that's how Alexa works. That's the problem. They think that what you said before, that you have to kind of prompt it, and then it responds, and you have this sort of interaction, and then it goes away.
Yeah, that blue,
my mom didn't
blue
know.
circles comes alive on the top. Right?
And then it goes to sleep, and it disappears.
But something's happened to our Alexa. We have 2.
Oh, really?
Yes, we have 2.
Oh, it's not cute.
But let me just tell you, but now neither of them are working.
Well,
I don't know why. It won't recognize us. It won't recognize the app or anything.
Mad at you.
Nothing's getting recorded in my.
It's mad at you.
You know what we need?
That's what it is.
We need more workers.
For what?
Because Alexa is lazy.
Yeah, I know.
Just have like a short human just sit in your house and just listen.
That's
Peter.
much safer. That would have job security for Greg.
So here's the other side of the story. Last year, Amazon was given a requirement, a warrant, served the warrant in a murder case, and guess what? It got the guy off. Turns out he wasn't guilty.
Well, then you do. Maybe, Jesse, maybe you need this as part of your ATM plan.
Do it.
I think that's true. But it could also cut both ways, so I'm not getting
But there is a legislative angle to this. There's a big privacy effort, cyber privacy issue that's going to be taken up in the Congress, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the new Democratic committee chairman. they're actually more aligned with some of the Republicans, like a Rand Paul and the cybersecurity people on the
libertarians.
Is Maxine in charge?
This is a candy of meats, and this is actually, I think, this is from Uncle Jack's, right? Jesse?
Yeah, it's time for Jesse's Food Court. There, I stole it. We have a special treat on the 5 today, courtesy of Food Network star Willie Deagle and Uncle Jack's Steakhouse. Look at this. Willie's a big fan of the 5. Shared some goodies from their Manhattan location. We have tic-tac-toe stacks of bacon, which Greg's all over, a 12-ounce sick charred filet, lobster tail, and dry seasoned steak. And from their Astoria location, Uncle Jack's Meat House, we have lobster tacos.
Oh,
Jedediah likes those.
I love it.
Long bone Fred Flintstone steak. And one of their signature desserts, I think, what is that, banana cream one?
That's what Dana told me, and I love it.
I didn't eat this, you'd give it to Jasper.
And macaroni and cheese.
So thank you to Willie and Uncle Jack's chef, Andrew Sikorsky. We love you guys.
This is amazing.
This is delish.
My turn? Great, Greg, thanks. Last week, my husband, Peter, and I sat down. We did Yahoo Lifestyle.
You sat down?
Yeah, we sat down together and we did this Yahoo Lifestyle thing. It's really kind of cute. It's about how we met on an airplane 21 years ago. It's a short interview. Yahoo did a great job. There's like animation and fun things. Peter's very camera shy, but he agreed to do it. You can find it at yahoo.com/lifestyle. Also, there's a new episode of I'll Tell You What, the podcast. You get all your updates today, including some election stuff, some election thoughts. Juan, you're next.
All right, so over the summer, my youngest son, Rafi, got married. But he and his wife, Morgan, delayed their honeymoon. The delay allowed them to pay for a trip to India to attend one of Rafi's friends' marriage in New Delhi. Here's the bride, Pia, with Morgan, and here's the groom, Lex, with Rafi. Of course, they went local. Take a look at Rafi in traditional Indian attire. And here's Morgan showing off henna tattoos on her hand. Here are pictures of them during the 3-day wedding celebration, Indian style. After the wedding, they went to a beach in Goa, India, to have a real private honeymoon. What a joy for them. And, of course, it'll be a joy once they make it back home to old me.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Very nice.
Great vacation. Cool. You're next.
Oh, me. All right. This is probably a bad one more thing, given that we're eating, but let's do it anyway. Greg's Rodent Feline International Relations News. Take a look at this interesting video. It's a cat going after a rat. And the interesting thing, a lot of people think, oh, cats aren't scared of rats, but check out this rat. This rat says, look, cat, you're not where it's at. I'm a rat, you're just a cat. Do you see the rat chasing the cat? The cat is chasing the rat. That is that. Look at this. And so what this does is it reveals a myth that cats can take rats, when in fact cats are not the natural enemy of rats, because rats are actually too large.
All right, Doctor.
They prefer mice and birds. I'm suddenly not so hungry anymore. Anyway, do you want to see any more videos? No. Oh, wait, who's next? Jedediah. Make this 2 minutes long.
Oh, great. Okay, so I like pigs, little piglets.
In fact, I think I'll have one.
I do, and my husband likes Harry Potter, so this is a fusion of both of our worlds.
I know a guy who likes Harry pigs.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well,
lives downtown. A
pig in Quebec. Look at him. Look at him. He's all dressed up. He got to live out his dreams of being a wizard. His owner dressed him up as a student of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. His name is Christopher, the pig.
That pig has no idea what's going on.
And he's got the robes on. He's got the Harry Potter glasses. He looks very happy. By the way, I know this. I've spent some time with pigs, and that is a happy pig. And he's
read your book.
He's also super.
Age 12 to 18.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Quite a story about one pig.
Never gonna live
What's
that
his
down.
name? Kyle?
Oh, man.
He just sold you a bunch of books, Jedediah.
Yeah.
I know.
If you haven't read Jedediah's book, you're going to miss an amazing chapter.
With a pig.
About a
as
pig
we've
named
said.
Kyle.
Moving on, this pig, Christopher.
Not his real name, by the way. Not his real name, right?
Did somebody give him something to drink before this? What is happening?
No, it's just the meat.
Yeah, I got a meat high.
Well, I just want to tell you that the pig's more famous than you, Greg. He has 30,000 followers on Facebook, 60,000 on Instagram, just so you know. So this is not just any old pig. This is pig like Charlotte's Web style.
Yeah, but you know, over here,
Yeah, look what you're doing. You've disgraced everything. You're eating bacon while you talk about a pig. You talk about rodents while you're eating. I don't know what that is over there.
He was doing a Fred Flintstone.
For dessert, we talk about the Donner Party.
How are the lobster tacos?
Oh, they're delicious. Man, these are actually the most delicious. I love lobster. I know you don't eat seafood either, do you?
Oh,
delicious.
These are great.
We got the seafood on this.
Yeah, we'll take the seafood.
You want me to end this? Okay.
Why? Aren't the people enjoying watching us eat?
Set your DVRs. Never miss an episode of The Five. Special Report is up next with Bret Baier. Hey, Bret.
I'm enjoying watching you eat. Thank you. Thanks.